Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to the Pop and Wrestling Podcast with me, Coach 23, where we talk about anything pro wrestling, pop culture, and life in general. So, yeah, I'm sorry about the mishap yesterday. I thought the last two episodes yesterday were like 24 and 25, but they're instead, or 20, yeah, they became like 20, yeah, they're actually 24 and 25. So this is episode 26, the real episode 26. So I'm sorry about the mishap. Old age, I'm 41 years old. So yeah, rocking my Viva La Raza Eddie Guerrero t-shirt, memorial t-shirt. So give me 1 second. Let me just fix my kids. Yeah, laptop. First things first. Happy birthday, Don Leo. Shout out to you. He's one of my co-admins for the Worldwide Wrestling Society page, Facebook page, where we talk about wrestling and all that shit, and not just other shit, not just pro wrestling. Um, Yesterday we were like talking about fatherhood, being an adult or whatnot. So shout out to you. Happy birthday. More birthdays to come, buddy. Can't wait for our collaboration next year when we talk about, pro wrestling, WWE stuff during WrestleMania season and beyond, probably, hopefully. Second things, uh, I'm happy in a way. Like I said, when I started this podcast, I didn't make it to be famous or rich. Maybe in my mind, when I'm daydreaming, I'm human. Uh, and I've been doing this podcast for like 26 episodes, so roughly like even 2 months or 3 months now, going 3 months. Happy because yeah, in order for you to monetize YouTube uh video or page or whatnot or channel, you need like 1,000 views for one video, and that's fine. I'm not getting it yet. I The most views I've had is 91. I'm happy about that, and I'm happy about the views that are coming in, whether you're watching the full video or like briefly, or you just skipping. Thank you. It still helps me. But yeah, I know I'm not. It's not the fastest, but I'm just happy because even in my wildest imagination, when I'm thinking about reality, being a realist and stuff, right now all my videos from like episode one, actually episode two for YouTube, to episode 25 yesterday, I already have almost 600 views for all those 25 or 24 videos here in the Pop and Wrestling YouTube channel. And I'm happy because I know it's not the fastest. Like I said, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And but I'm still happy because I've been doing this for like I said, 2 or 3 months now, and I've amassed accumulated views for all videos for that, and I'm happy. I am happy that if you're watching, if you're just browsing, if I'm happy that I believe he's an American viewer who commented last yesterday for the superhero fatigue podcast. It's really said, nah, it's not real, but Marvel is really just giving us, shit characters. But yeah, beg to disagree, agree to disagree, but it's every opinion matters. I respect everyone's opinion. Maybe I don't care. When I say I don't care, I really don't care, but it matters to me as well. And those comments, I'm happy about that. People are requesting, yeah, do Batang Quiapo, do Pulang Araw. I will be doing that as well because it's part of our Filipino pop culture, and but not right now. Maybe I have to watch maybe a few episodes of Pulang Lupa on Netflix to catch up. Batang Quiapo, I'm always mostly watching, uh, every day or every night. Depends on the mood. Uh, but yeah, we'll be tackling those soon. Filipino pop culture, U.S. pop culture. We'll be talking pop culture in general as well. But yeah, thank you for those views. Thank you for the new subscribers. I now have 15, and I'm happy again because I used to have like four, 3, 4, like the when I first started this, and now We got to that number. I know it's not a lot, like I said, but the thing is, I'm proud of it still. And I'm happy about that. And thank you. I'm grateful. I am appreciative of those people who comments, who likes, who views even. I am so grateful and thank you very much for that. Here's to a lot of more episodes to go and more views to come. I'm not going to be plastic. I'm not going to be, hypocrite about it. Do I want this to be monetized or do I want to earn from this? Yeah. I guess most people who do YouTube channels do that or podcasts do that. But the thing is, I'm not asking you to pay me. I'm not going to Patreon. Maybe someday, maybe not. To subscribe so you can pay me. No, I'm not going to ask you to do that. I want to do this, doing it a little bit the hard way, the difficult way for me to do it or because I'm a late starter. I'm 41 years old when I started this podcast. I'm turning 42 in a few weeks now. Getting older. I'm not that young, but the thing is, you go to like TikTok pages, you have like 60-year-old, 70-year-old men doing TikTok, and it's never too late. So yeah, thank you very much. I am appreciative. I love you, Solo. But yeah, so Viva La Raza. And yeah, so we're going. This is episode 26. So we're going to do it in a reverse because Raw will be coming in an hour or an hour or so. So I'll be doing the Raw review for episode 27 later after Raw. Then yeah, so we'll talk about that later. But yeah, right now, yesterday, first two pop culture comic book talk, superhero talk that we did for the Pop and Wrestling podcast, we did Marvel. Introduction of the Marvel movies to the Marvel universe, to the MCU, superhero fatigue is real or not. Like I said, I watched the last episode and you probably know my stance or my point about that. Um but yeah, so we don't talk about comic book movies, superhero movies or comic book in general if you're just talking about Marvel. There's another side of that equation or that coin, which is DC Comics. Now, DC Comics, I believe if I'm going to do a quick research, but I'm not going to do it, but I'm just going to top of my head. I believe DC Comics was not a pioneer, but there were first become popular before Marvel, before Captain America, Spider-Man, X-Men, those characters. Batman, I believe, was conceived 1938, 37 or 38. Superman. So they were in the late 1930s. I believe Captain America was, conceived 1941 or 42. But Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman, the DC Trinity, they were like created like we were early, no, late 1930s. So they're really, really, really old. And I'm going to discuss something about that later as well. Um, so yeah, was a popular character. Superman was conceived that he wasn't even flying back then. He was like doing the Incredible Hulk jump of like leaping from that's why leaping a tall building in a single bound. So it's just like leaping and it's not really flying. Although he has a cape. It's weird. He has a cape but he doesn't fly. But until they made him fly. Batman is, a vigilante whose parent was killed in front of him. Uh yeah. So we're going to focus more on the DC superhero comic book movies today. So uh yeah, they're doing serials or TV shows about, Batman and Superman way back. But like Superman was like one of the first, if not the first, DC comic book to be really featured in a feature film. Um, I believe it was Mario Puzo who wrote the story for Superman, the first Superman movie, the Richard Donner movie. This Warner Brothers are still like no messed up with a lot of filmmakers. But the thing is, I recommend you guys to watch this show. The show is called The Offer. It's a story of how the movie Godfather was created. It's like a 10 episode series, limited series. Miles Teller is one of the characters there. Matthew Good. They're, it was a fantastic TV show or series. Then the last part, Mario Puzo said, "You know what? I'm not going to stay for Godfather 2 that much. Warner is offering me to write a movie about something." And when they asked what, and they said Superman. And I believe the Miles Teller character said Superman, the superhero, the comic book character. Yeah. So, and Richard Donner, it begun. So yeah, the history for Superman, the Richard Donner Superman, the first Superman movie that we all know. We consider this one. I know George Reeves is the Superman for TV, but for the movie, it's this guy, Christopher Reeve. Um, he was cast because I believe at the time casting directors for Superman, they want an unknown, no, unknown actor because they already cast Marlon Brando to be Jor-El, which got him paid like 11 or 12 million dollars for like 10 minutes of screen time. They cast Gene Hackman, the actor Gene Hackman, to be Lex Luthor, and those are like big name stars at the time, especially Marlon Brando. He just recently won like the best actor for The Godfather, I believe. So yeah, so it's really like weird that you have your main character to be played by a relatively unknown actor. So they cast Christopher Reeve. I believe Christopher Reeve was like doing indie, or back then it's not really independent, low budgeted movies or TV soap operas at the time, and they cast him. Fun fact about that, he was really like wearing a spandex type of suit, like it, was like stretchable suit, like where you're wearing your tights or whatnot. And they asked him, they want it to be padded so he can look like bulky, and he said, "No, I'll work out." That's his real body. He got really ripped to be, got in shape to be Superman. Or back then, rip is not really that big, but if you're not Arnold Schwarzenegger, bodybuilder type, Sylvester Stallone, but this, he really got in shape to play Superman, and he's tall. He's like 6'4". So Christopher Reeve played Superman for four movies: Superman 1, Superman 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, those are the titles. Um, I believe Richard Donner did the first one, or somebody, Sal Salkin. Yeah, I forgot their names. I'm bad at names, especially if it's hard to pronounce. But yeah, Superman was a blockbuster for Warner Brothers at the time. Inflation, they, I guess, if it made like 150 million, 200 million back then, inflation wise it's like 500, 600, 700 million now. I don't know, my math is bad. I hate math. um Superman did well. The first two Superman movies, Warner Brothers was really backing them up. Superman 3, not so much. And Superman 4. Superman 4, like you said, if you watch this, the first pop culture talk that we have about comic books, Superman 4 was the first movie I've ever seen. Way back 1987 or 88. I forgot the year. Watch Superman 4 at Green Hills Theater, the original one, for like a last full show. And for a young mind, if it's 87, I was probably 4, and it really blew my mind. It really blew my mind. Like, oh man, a man can fly. And I remember after seeing this movie, Superman 4 Quest for Peace, which is really a crappy movie right now if you see it or watch it. But if you're back then, 1980s, late 80s, it's really groundbreaking from me. I used to do this, the kiss me hair after I watch seeing it. I'm like, I want my hair to be like that. Superman became for a time being my favorite superhero of all time. At the time, before I met Batman. um, yeah, Superman was like, for me, like I said, arguably Superman is the greatest superhero of all time. Arguably, could be debated. People can say it's Spider-Man, but for me, nothing beats or tops Superman. I mean, He's a guy who's an alien, came from a a planet that's blown up, destroyed. His family was there. Went for some reason he went to America or he he is like, oh my god, there's Muta. He was like, drop the spaceship dropped to Kansas City in the USA, got, raised by Jonathan and Martha Kent, with good values, good morals, and now he was Superman and became Superman. So there's no better story than that. Jerry Schuster, Jerry Siegel did really well in creating Superman. Like I said, he is arguably the greatest superhero of all time. Uh, Once you see that symbol on his chest, that's not an S, but a symbol for hope, for Kryptonian language. Everybody knows who Superman is because of that logo. So yeah, movie got successful. Then Warner Brothers decided, you know what? We have a lot of heroes in our book, so why not use another one? This one. Uh, this picture on my left. Batman. Michael Keaton, Tim Burton's Batman in 1989. So they created it. Like I said before that, like last two episodes for the pop culture talk, is that this was the time that DC comics were like, okay, maybe we're targeting children. So it's like WWE circa 1991, that more like kiddie stuff, PG stuff. Maybe, and then Frank Miller, uh, who wrote The Dark Knight Returns, Batman Year One, and Alan Moore, who wrote The Watchmen. They were like transitioning to like a mature, darker stuff or stories. So DC was like, let's have Batman, but this is not the Adam West, Burt Ward Batman that boof, spiff, pow, what those comic really stuff. So they conceived Batman. I believe the first one they cast was Jack Nicholson as well, who's a big name to be playing Joker. Then Michael Keaton was cast. I believe they were choosing a lot of actors. I believe there were even like comedy actor Chevy Chase to be Batman, or yeah, maybe I'm wrong, but they cast relatively rom-com actor, comedic actor in Michael Keaton, and actually Michael Keaton became even more popular with that. Beetlejuice came first before Batman. So Tim Burton has already a collaborated work with Michael Keaton, so he cast him as Batman. And yeah, they made it really a darker story, a more grounded and realistically story. And Batman, the first Batman movie, 1989 Batman, became popular as well. So when you're a studio executive, you will really cash on something. And, like Superman, like Batman, you know what? We can target kids despite being have a darker tone. And Batman Returns came out, I believe, 1991 or 1992. Batman Returns with Catwoman, Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, Danny DeVito, the great Danny DeVito as the Penguin. Who was there? Christopher Walken was there as Max Shrek. Of course, Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton returned as Batman. Uh, they made it a little bit campy. They add like a layers of like comedic because yeah, Danny DeVito is also known as a comedic actor, dramatic actor even. So they like they were like targeting people. They're trying to targeting kids. I mean, I believe that even there was this debate that Die Hard, the first Die Hard movie, was like a Christmas movie because it happened in Christmas. I don't believe it's a Christmas movie, but it just happened in Christmas. Batman is the same. Batman Returns was the same. It happened during a Christmas season, and there are these people that are from the within the comic book community are like, Batman Returns is a Christmas movie. No, it just happened to be Christmas. It doesn't have a Christmas theme. So no, it's not. But yeah, actually Michael Keaton is like one of the first Batman who killed. He put a bomb onto one of the clown and threw him, then boom. So he's dead. He died. So yeah, they were targeting Happy Meals or yeah, Happy Meals for McDonald's. They were trying to do that. They were really trying to do that. Video games, toys, a lot of stuff. I used to remember I have a Batman toy but it's when the first Batman movie came out. But yeah, even though it has a darker tone, they're trying to target kids, and they were able to do so. But the thing is, yeah, after deliberation, like it still became a popular movie. I don't think it really surpassed the first movie because back then it was really difficult that if you are the first movie, the sequel has to be much better than the first one. And I believe Batman Returns didn't really do it did well, but not as great as the first movie. So Tim Burton left because he was being like forced by Warner Brothers media or executives to to make it more PG. But the thing is, funny, whatnot. But he wasn't able. He didn't really want to do that. Michael Keaton didn't want to return as Batman as long as Tim Burton is not the one directing. But more to that later. Um, then they hired Joel Schumacher to direct Batman Forever, and this time the new Batman was Val Kilmer. Uh, Riddler was played by the awesome and great Jim Carrey. Two Face was played by Oscar winner Tommy Lee Jones. Nicole Kidman was there. Chris O'Donnell was there to be, to star as Robin, Dick Grayson Robin. And it did well. It did fairly well despite being, childish. They made it more like a comedic movie. So if I'm going to equivalent Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, this time still Joel Schumacher is the director, but this time the actor who played Batman was George Clooney, who I think is still one of the best Bruce Wayne, but not Batman. Bruce Wayne is a different character from Batman, even though they're the same. Robin was still played by Chris O'Donnell. Arnold Schwarzenegger played Mr. Freeze. Uma Thurman played as Poison Ivy. My childhood crush as well, Alicia Silverstone played Batgirl, and it didn't really do well. It really bombed. It was a big time flop for like a Batman movie at the theaters. Although back then, late 1990s, I'm like, as long as you're Batman, you're good with me. But to the critics, commercial, to the audience, it really bombed. So that really killed the Batman movie mythology at the time being. So yeah, then that during that time around maybe if I'm correct, if my memory serves me right, 1997 was Batman and Robin. So there was this like influx of there's no comic book DC comic book movie between 1997 until I believe 2005. So it's like an 8-year drought for DC comic book back then. Marvel was doing well with Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four in between those years. Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, I believe, came out those years. In between, yeah, 1997 to 2005. Then 2005 came along. Warner Brothers hired director Christopher Nolan to direct Batman Begins. And this is the one up in the picture. This one, the Dark Knight trilogy. Christopher Nolan hired Christian Bale to play Batman. I believe his two choices was Christian Bale and Cillian Murphy, perennial Christopher Nolan actor, Cillian Murphy, and they did Batman Begins. Batman Begins, I believe they gave authority to Christopher Nolan that what, do whatever you want. We will not intervene, and that's actually Christopher Nolan's type of directing. Don't interfere with my with the movie that I'm making. That's why he directs, he creates movies that are really really awesome. The Prestige, Memento, what else? Ever so great Inception. You have your Interstellar, you have your Dunkirk, Tenet, Oppenheimer. So he's really doing like a great line of movies. So it's it was really unique because he's really a filmmaker at the time. He's really a solid filmmaker and he did Batman. He was jokingly said that I directed Batman or suggested I will direct Batman because of the money, but you know he made Batman great again. He made Batman so grounded that it's more of like a realistic take on Batman instead of the campy. Nothing against Tim Burton's Batman and Joel Schumacher's Batman, but he made Batman from like straight from the comic book, or not really straight, but the essence of Batman straight from the comic book. Bruce Wayne is like a flawed character, a brooding character because of the demise of his parents. Um, Batman Begins was like a template for like superhero or directors who are doing superhero movies. John Favreau, even who the one who directed Happy Hogan, no Happy Hogan, he directed Iron Man and he was Happy Hogan there when he was introduced. And why did you do why did you sign up to do Batman or Iron Man? He said because of Batman Begins. It's my template of how superhero movie should be, you know, taken into consideration, and he did that. He made it Iron Man like a grounded approach. So Batman Begins did that. The first Batman Begins, did fairly well as well in the box office. Villains were like relatively, unknown villains to some, not to the casual audience. So people are asking who's Ra's al Ghul, who is played by the great Liam Neeson. Scarecrow was played by Killian Murphy. Killian Murphy also like auditioned to play Batman, but it was like Christian Bale and him. But eventually the role went to Christian Bale. But still, he hired Christopher Nolan hired Killian Murphy to play Scarecrow. So those are the two main characters for Batman Begins. It did fairly well. Then Warner Brothers decided to cash in. Let's create another Superman movie. I didn't picture it because I don't have too much space to put it. Um Superman Returns was shown 2007. It starred by Kevin Spacey as Lex Luthor, Kate Bosworth as Lois Lane, and a relatively unknown actor again to be playing Superman, Brandon Routh. Fun fact about that, Brandon Routh was like the same as Christopher Reeve, was like doing TV shows, low budgeted movies, but there were like three main actors who auditioned for to play Superman. One is Henry Cavill, who eventually played Superman at Man of Steel. The other actor is Matthew Bummer or Matt Bummer from White Collar. Uh, he's also a terrific actor, but he didn't get the job because, according to him, when people knew or the casting directors knew that he's openly gay, that's the reason why they didn't hire him, according to him. Maybe according to some reports as well. And Henry Cavill didn't get the job for Superman Returns, although he was like the top, in the top spot because he auditioned to play James Bond as well during the time when he was auditioning to play Superman. So it's like, nah, you just have to choose one. And I believe he tried to give his focus more in auditioning for James Bond, which eventually go went to Daniel Craig. More on that later. We will talk about James Bond too, for the pop culture thing. So they hired Brandon Routh to play to play Superman Returns. It did fairly well in the box office, but I believe they weren't really expecting that. They were expecting more. So a sequel for Superman Returns didn't happen. But like I said, the popularity of Batman and Batman Begins really was got the interest because it was both commercially and critically acclaimed. So they decided to do a sequel. Uh, and is to me arguably still the best superhero movie of all time, in my opinion. My favorite, The Dark Knight. So Dark Knight, it's returning Christian Bale as Batman. Uh, Gary Oldman played Commissioner Gordon. Killian Murphy was still there to play, Scarecrow in a cameo in a weird. And Aaron Eckhart played Harvey Dent, also known as Two Face. And this was the time that I was like, you know what? Why did they cast Heath Ledger as the Joker? He's 10 Things I Hate About You. He's Brokeback Mountain, Heath Ledger. Why cast him as the Joker? The Joker is like Jack Nicholson. The Joker is like, should be played like, really, dark, or who can play that? And it gave me goosebumps when I first heard the teaser trailer for Batman or for The Dark Knight. The way he speaks, the way he speaks like this, I'm like going to. So it's like, oh my god, Is that the Joker? Then when I saw his first look, this one beside Batman, I'm like, okay, he is going to kill it, and that's like he was going to kill the role. Sorry, R.I.P. Heath Ledger. He became one of my favorite actors afterward. Watch, I went reverse Heath Ledger and watch most of his, other movies at the time, and he even won an Oscar playing the Joker. He is the Joker until now. Nothing against Jack Nicholson, nothing against Cesar Romero, nothing against Jared Leto, but he is the Joker. Period. So, The Dark Knight is actually the first movie from Batman and even Warner Brothers superhero, portfolio that, grossed to $1 billion for a superhero movie. They're the first one to ever do it. Before the Avengers, before all the Marvel movies, the Dark Knight did it first. Then, of course, the last part of the Dark Knight trilogy is The Dark Knight Rises. Tom Hardy played Bane. Killian Murphy also returned as Scarecrow for like a cameo. Uh, Talia al Ghul was there. Anne Hathaway played Selina Kyle, but she wasn't being called Catwoman. She was a cat burglar, but not Catwoman. Like I said, more grounded approach. It did fairly well as well in the box office. It's actually second Batman movie who did $1 billion in the worldwide box office. I believe if The Dark Knight like had like a billion and one, uh, The Dark Knight Rises like maybe have a billion five. So it did really well because that was the time. 2012 was the time that Avengers came out as well. So yeah, Avengers became the movie of the year. Although yeah, I like The Dark Knight. Bane was more of a mercenary. Yeah, because he's a mercenary in the comic books. He was more like a real type, or like you said, it's more of like a militar type supervillain. He doesn't use venom. I believe the one is on his mask. It's like analgesic or painkiller because his face is like really mangled. So that's why it's back like this. So yeah, I can copy paint that. It's so easy to mimic his voice. But yeah, did it well. But that's actually the last part of the Dark Knight trilogy. I believe this was the time that Warner Brothers was like telling Christopher Nolan, we need a shared universe. And Christopher Nolan said, no, my heroes are grounded, but I can help you produce a new movie. Then the next movie, he was a producer. They hired Zack Snyder, who did Watchmen, which one of my favorite superhero movies as well, 300 and Sucker Punch, to direct, to write and direct, co-produce The Man of Steel. And this time they hired Henry Cavill to play the Man of Steel. I can remember that day because I was watching The Dark Knight Rises at Star Mall Mandaluyong. I was going to Bulacan to see my wife there because she just gave birth, I believe. So we're like, okay. Then I was like, the teaser of like someone's flying, and then like a sonic boom. Boof. Like, my God, what's that? And they said from producer Christopher Nolan, director Zack Snyder from 300 and Watchmen, Man of Steel. I'm like, oh, wow. And that, my friends, is the start of the first DC shared universe movies or universe, DCEU, DC Extended Universe, that started with Man of Steel. That we will talk about more tomorrow for episode, if this is episode 26, probably episode 27 or 28. Depends on my mood. But yeah, so that's a brief history of the DC comic book movies. Uh, do appreciate if you subscribe, if you watch, if you like my views or like my views, you like my I don't know, my podcast. If you have suggestion for me to talk about, we will do so in the future as long as you leave your comment. Be respectful. That's it. That's the only thing I know. Like I said, your opinion matters, but be respectful while giving it. Do appreciate. Like I said, I am grateful, appreciative of those people who watch my podcast, hear my podcast. I appreciate it. I am really grateful about you guys. So yeah, I'll talk to you later. When we talk about my raw review, my point of view for the raw review later today, later this morning here in Manila. night at the US. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for watching, listening for the Pop and Wrestling Podcast DC Comics Edition. I'll see you guys later. Peace out. A Town.